This is the drone video for tract 29 at Hawks Roost. We're parked just off the gravel road, about 100 yards east of the property. That's where we launched the drone. So we're kind of looking west. You can see the road there. And now you can see that old homestead and the power line. That power line is basically the west side of the property. So as we rotate to the north, property line on the power line on the left is a border, and then the property is going to the right from there. So you've got, oh man, just a ton of cedar and pine trees, and actually a couple large oak trees here. So the red truck is just east of the property line. You can see it goes back to the north, and then it actually widens out quite a bit. You'll want to look at the maps to see how it's situated. Easily wide enough on the south end that you could build and be super private. But if you wanted a monster yard, you could just head on back to the north side where it gets even wider. Great looking property here. I believe once we get to the north side, we've got some logging, but here on the south side, those cedar trees, those pine trees, I remember doing the ground video on this one, and there were some really nice pine trees and quite a few huge cedar trees as well. Actually, I think on the south end there was a monster oak tree. Looked like it was well over 100 years old, that hadn't been cut. That looked really good. Beautiful view to the north. Obviously excellent access to power. The entire west side more or less borders that power line. So now as the power line changes direction, the land kind of starts to get wider along with that power line. So now you're looking at a wider part of the property. At the very end of the power line, there's some type of house. They come in from the west side off the county road. Wouldn't be visible from the property unless you were way at the northwest corner of it, basically. I mean, the topography here, the layout is fantastic. It's level at the easement road on the south end, and then it slopes down very gently, very gradually as you go north. So excellent layout for just about anything, really. Topo map showed a wet weather creek on the north side, so we tried to see that with the drone. This is where we kind of started looking for that creek, and on the little screen when we were doing it, I thought that was the creek, and it may be, but that also could potentially be a rock wall, because this may have been pasture 100 years ago, 150 years ago, and they always piled the rocks either in walls or in piles. So that could be the creek bed, or that could be an old rock wall. And actually, as we get up a little further, now that on the bottom left looks like the creek bed. Well, I don't know, you be the judge. Head on out there and check it out. We'd be anxious to know what you find. Great area. I mean, good sized property, and the layout is great. I mean, if you wanted to have super private and big trees in the yard, that south end would be possibly ideal. If you wanted a larger yard, you could go toward that north side and do it that way. So the part that was recently logged obviously doesn't look as good as the rest, but within the next couple years, things will grow back nicely. Really, the first couple years after a property is logged is when you'll see the biggest difference year to year. So that north side, excuse me, is going to look completely different in a year, 2 years, moving on from there. As the limbs rot away and the trees really go gangbusters. Well, check us out at InstantAcres.com. As we look to the south, it's on the left of that power line. Well, I ran out of time there. It has solid property, has a lot going on. We'd love to talk to you if this tract is still available.